Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today I have quite a few things that I'm going to be doing for my plants, but mainly I am going to be setting up a new propagation container because I shared with you before that I have a pink princess that I wanted to share with one of you because just as a thank you, I just wanted to make sure that everything went well with the propagation. And so I took my main propagation container and I dedicated it to my pink princess propagations. And so I'm going to set up another propagation container and I'm going to show you how I do that because I'm going to be repurposing some of my moss. A lot of the times I use perlite for my propagation containers, but as of late I've been using moss because I'm kind of feeling as if I just like working with soil and is so much easier, and so that's what I have been propagating in. So I have a whole bunch of stuff on my kitchen counter over here that I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you exactly what I do for my propagation container, what I use, as well as some of the natural fertilizer that I use. So please stay and see how everything goes. Start off with what I have here is my container of moss. This is all moss that has been used at some point, but I dried it out and I keep it in this jar so that it doesn't get contaminated with anything. But in order for me to use it safely, what I have to do is I have to clean it really, really well. Make sure there are no old roots in it or anything, any kind of bacteria. So what I did was I have my electric kettle over here and it's already heated up, but I'm going to heat it up just one more time. I am going to put some of the moss. I already have some in here, but I didn't think it would be enough. And so I have a little bit of moss in here. I'm going to add just a little bit more from this container. And this is the container I'm going to switch over to. I normally keep these containers when we go to the grocery store. We get these types of containers for organic spinach or like the spring mix. You get those really nice containers. They are perfect for propagation bins because you can open and close them to air them out, and they are perfect humidity zones. And so this one is actually from Trader Joe's. We buy the gluten-free cupcakes for my children, and they come in these containers right here. And what I like about it is because it comes with 4 cupcakes, it has 4 little sections that you can use if you want to do individual plants like with corms, alocasia corms. This is really good to just keep everything separated. If you have a section with maybe black velvet and latabachiana, stingray, you can just separate them that way and keep track of whatever it is that you have in your propagation bin. But for today, I'm actually going to be flipping this and using the top of this container for the bottom. I'm just going to have everything down here. So this is what I will be using. And my water's boiling. And I am just going to grab some of this moss. I think that big chunk will be too much. I see a strand of hair. Okay, and so now I have this container. This is in a strainer. This is just a strainer I purchased at the Goodwill. And it just so happens that it fits onto this container that it's in perfectly so that I can just clean the moss. I've already gone through this moss to make sure that there was no roots or anything like that in it. So right now what I just did was I put the hot water onto the moss, and now you can see that it's actually just steaming. I don't know if that's coming through, but it's just steaming now. And this is a very heavy duty pot that it's in, so I don't have to worry about it getting too hot or anything like that. So while this is steaming and it's getting all clean, I'm just going to set it to the side, and I'm going to set my little container over here, cover up my moss. And I have 2 more containers, supermarket containers. And these look kind of gross, but these are banana peels, and these are strawberry tops, or strawberries that went bad and no one was going to eat them. And so I just finished chopping up the old strawberries. I kept whatever I could and I put them into the freezer so that I can use them for my smoothies. But these right here, I'm going to go outside. Well, I'm not going to go outside. One of my boys will go outside and put this into my compost bin outside near my greenhouse. And these bananas I am going to put into this container, and I'm going to make some natural fertilizer for my plants. So what I do is I just put the banana peels into a container, and I'm going to make it kind of concentrated because this is a pretty small container to have so many peels in. But I'm going to just put some tap water on it, but it's going to be very as hot as the tap water will get. My tap water gets pretty hot, so I'm not concerned about it not doing enough. Oh, I just remembered I had my glasses. I'm sorry. I hope this is not too much of a glare, but I need to see what I'm doing. So anyway, I'm just going to allow this water to heat up as much as I possibly can. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill up this container that I have, and then I'm going to just put a little top over it so that it can soak up all of the goodness of the bananas so that I can put them into my plants. I was so happy that one of you shared in the comments that the peace lilies don't necessarily like to be fertilized with synthetic fertilizer. And for the majority of my plants, I use synthetic fertilizer. And so I am going to make this banana tea for the peace lilies that I have. So I'm going to make it a nice concentrated strength, and then I'm going to take the banana water and pour it into their drinking water. Okay, so here it is. It's all filled up, and I'm going to set this to the side, and I'm just going to put a top over it so that this can just sit, and I'm going to let this sit for about 4 hours. And then tonight or later on today, I'm going to go and I'm going to give this to my plants. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to water them first, and then I'm going to sip this in the saucer underneath them, and I'm going to pour a little bit around the roots at the top. And this so that it doesn't do too much for them, but at the same time, they will be able to pull in exactly what they want. Okay, so that's all out of the way. And I will still keep this container right here because, of course, I can still use this for propagations. Or actually, this one I don't use for propagations because it does have drainage holes at the bottom. What I will use this for is actually just to for starter plants, if they've already been rooted and everything, and I want to do a starter tray, this is what I will use to keep them in a dome, but then they have drainage. Next, I am going to take another glass container, and I'm going to make even more fertilizer or a nourishment for my plants, and this is specifically for my really large pothos plants. I am going to, again, put some warm water in here and let it sit for a little while. But before I put the water in here, I'm going to take a little bit of the coffee from this morning, and I do mean a little bit. Pour it in here, just that much. And I'm going to fill the rest of this with water, and I am going to give this to my pothos plants in their drinking water. Now, when I started collecting my plants, I had someone help me with preparing my pothos to be happy because I was just in love with every pothos that I could find. And so she told me to make the soil nitrogen rich, which is what pothos like. You can use just a little bit of coffee, diluted coffee in your, it's not their drinking water. It's when you're watering your pothos, you can just put a little bit of coffee water into their watering. You can put a little bit of coffee into their watering can so that they get the nitrogen from the coffee in their soil, which is what they need in order for them to have really good growth. And I have been doing that, and I guess it's become such a routine for me that I didn't even remember that I was doing this. But when I was just going to do it this morning because I realized that my really big jade needed to have a little shot because it didn't get one last month, I said I would stop and I would put it in this video. Now this again is just what I do for my pothos, and I do it very diluted for my Scindapsus. But I only do this one time a month, and I don't do it every single month as much as it is definitely something I do regularly. So this is what the water looks like when it is just the coffee water. And I am going to take this and pour it into my 2-gallon jug, and I will water my plants. I will still fill up the jug, but I will put this water into that 2-gallon container. so that it's mixed in. So this is, again, a concentrated form. You don't use really heavy duty coffee in your container, because she was very specific when she told me use a very small amount of coffee. So this is what I do, and it has been working. Oh, we can finish up with the propagation container. See that steam coming up in there? I do have a few pieces of the cedar chips in here. It was at the bottom. And I put cedar chips in everything because I do feel that it curbs the pests, and I don't want we are approaching the coveted springtime, and I don't want any spring bugs to find their way into my container. This is so hot. Okay. So here is the yummy goodness that we are going to use in our propagation box. And I am not going to put anything in here until this cools down. But you can see, and you can still go through it, make sure there's nothing in it. This smells absolutely amazing. So while we are waiting for that to cool down, I just wanted to show you my little container with my aglaonema flowers that I collected. My really big aglaonema had so many flowers on it. And when I was doing research, I was hoping that I would be able to use the flowers for pollination or something, just anything, getting seeds, anything. But I was not able to. But according to the research that I did, there is really no way for me to gather seeds or anything like that from these flowers, which is really strange because it looks like there is a pot of seeds in there. See that? It seems like you could do something with this, but I haven't been able to find anything that shows that you can do any type of pollination or just like shake out seeds or anything like that. But I thought they were still so pretty. And so I thought that even though I pulled them off because they were making the leaves on my plant extremely small, the rest of the plant, the leaves were very big. And so I decided I would take them off because it was sapping much too much energy. Originally, I did not plan on taking the leaves off at all. I mean, the flowers off at all, because I like the flowers. I think they look beautiful. But I still realized all I have to do is put them into a little vase and I can still enjoy them. But then I can still have the nice big leaves on my plant. And so I'm really excited about that. Getting back to the project at hand, the moss has cooled down. So I'm going to open up my container. And I'm just going to take a mixture of the moss and the cedar. So now my container is all set, and as you can see, it closes down nicely. Now for me, I have tried to limit the amount of containers that I have with propagations in them, simply because at one point I had maybe 7 or 8 propagation containers, and I realized that eventually you have to pot those things up and you'll just have a wall-to-wall forest. And I mean, as you can see, I don't it's not necessary for me. So I have to limit the amount of propagations that I make. And so my container that has my Pink Princess propagations in it actually is my main container. These right here, I normally use if I'm going to share clippings with someone. I will put the clippings into something like this, and then I can just give them the entire propagation container and at the same time reuse something that I already had. So that's it for today. Today was a big hodgepodge of things that I wanted to share with you. I hope it was enjoyable for you to watch this, and I hope it was useful to you. I love my natural fertilizers that I use for my plants, or my natural nourishment, should I say, that I use for my plants. And these propagation containers, I know a lot of you were telling me that you like to reuse different containers in order for you to do your propagations and things like that. And so I thought I would just share with you some of the things that I use, because I buy these on a regular basis. And so I know that these are things that I don't have to go out and buy anything if I already have things like this. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.